The Kremlin has in fact fired back after President Donald Trump threatened new sanctions over Russia's latest deadly assault on Ukraine. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said no sanction will ever force Russia to change course, insisting and underlining rather that Moscow will not back down from what it calls its special military operation in Ukraine. Now, the strong response follows Trump's warning of a second stage of sanctions after Russia launched its largest attack of the war yet, striking Kyiv's main government building for the first time. More than 800 drones and 13 missiles slammed into cities across Ukraine, killing at least four people, including a 3-month-old baby. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky has called the attack a war crime, and in fact, he is urging the US for a stronger response. Meanwhile, Trump says he'll speak to Putin soon, as European leaders head to Washington this week to discuss the next steps. Meanwhile, for our viewers who are just joining in, the Kremlin has fired back, or rather thrown down the gauntlet after President Donald Trump threatened new sanctions over Russia's latest deadly assault on Ukraine. Now, this reply comes just a couple of days after, in fact, US President Donald Trump warned of to impose secondary sanctions against Moscow. Spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said, and I'm quoting here, no sanctions will ever force Russia to change its course. He's also insisted, and not only said this, but also underlined that Moscow will not back down from what it calls its special military operation. Now, it's very important to note that Trump's latest warning comes after the total breakdown of the much-touted Alaska summit, where he met President Putin, his Russian counterpart, for the first time since the beginning of the war. Meanwhile, my colleague Gauri Dwivedi joins us for the latest on this. Gauri, a straight message coming out of Moscow, almost throwing down the gauntlet to Donald Trump this time, and also at the back of Russia's biggest aerial attack across Ukrainian cities. What's the latest you're picking up?
See, Arjun, the message from Kremlin is absolutely clear that this kind of conversation, this kind of messaging that's coming in repeatedly from Washington, which is about threatening more sanctions, is now not going to yield any returns. In fact, it's now beginning to look like it's going to have diminishing returns, because Kremlin is very clear that they are not going to back down, and what they called a special military operation, or SMO, that will continue irrespective of the kind of conversation, the talk, the messaging that keeps coming in from the Washington side. It also comes at a time when Russia is pounding Ukrainian cities in the largest drone attack since this war started 3.5 years ago. So that tells you how Kremlin is actually viewing these sanctions talk from Washington side. And it is also, in fact, making note of how the entire summit took place with 30 other countries when Zelensky and several other European leaders were together along with Donald Trump, and when the whole talk about more sanctions started. Now, what this indicates is two things. First, and most important aspect, Arjun, it means that there is no immediate political solution at this stage if sanctions is the only playbook that Trump plays back. That's the first important thing. Second important fact is that there is nothing that is bringing Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table right now. He has the military momentum. He has shown that at a time when there is a 30-nation conference taking place to find a political resolution, he chooses to respond in the harshest military terms as far as pounding Ukrainian cities with its largest drone attack. And the last key takeaway is what it means is that at the end of the day, there has to be some talk about give and take on leverage. What that will be is something that Donald Trump has to identify, work towards it. But for that to happen, he needs to get out of his sanctions playbook. It's the only thing that he's been talking about ever since it became clear that Vladimir Putin walked out with a lot more in terms of wins after the Alaska summit than the American president.